Cozy, an adjective, giving a feeling of comfort, warmth, and relaxation. Intimate and relaxed, noun, soft, decorative, cover for an object. Transitive verb, informal, a feeling of comfort or complacency. Cozy up, snuggle up to, integrate oneself with. Welcome to Grounding Journey. I'm Chris Greer. As a 40-something mom, business owner, yoga lover, and long-time spiritual seeker, I've been craving deeper conversations, the kind that arise from connections with other women who are on a similar journey. My purpose with Grounding Journey is to provide a space where we can have real, fulfilling, and sacred conversations. Welcome to this week's episode, Cozy with Yourself. I'm excited to have Krista Resnick with me to discuss cozy. As you heard in our intro, cozy sounds, well, cozy, warm and snuggly, right? So before we get too far into cozy, I want to welcome Krista. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let me introduce you a little bit more and then we'll get started. So Krista is a coach, a self-love junkie, and a leadership expert. She helps women uncover their purpose by answering the important questions. Who am I? What do I want? And how do I get it? And I've already figured out she is a powerhouse of soul, fun, compassion, and vibrancy. So we are going to get started. So Krista, tell me a little bit about your journey to become a coach, a self-love junkie. Like, how did you get here?
Well, Chris, I love that question. And you may already know this, your listeners may already know this, but we learn through contrast, right? So I did not just automatically learn these things by having no darkness or contrast in my life. I learned these things through feeling the heaviness and feeling the angst. And really living as a woman who didn't love herself, who didn't know how to put herself first, didn't even know that I was supposed to or that I could, didn't know that I could wake up every morning and choose how I wanted to feel, didn't realize that I actually had the power to run my mind and to choose my thoughts. And to really create a life that I loved. I was very much living in victim mode and a lot of states of blame, resentment, and really apathy. So through that, I've always been a pretty resilient person. So even though I had some of that darkness going on, there was this part of me that knew I was created for something bigger. I was not created to exist like this, right? So that's really how I started to lean in just to those soul taps, that pull, and I started to listen. I started to lean in and go, and then we never get to figure out the entire how, of course. It doesn't work that way. It was just the next step in front of me, right? And then the next step, and then the next step. So now you're looking at the woman who is standing in her power and does know her purpose and knows who she is and speaks truth. And a lot of people would probably wish I would shut up and stop speaking.
I know some people who would say the same about me. They encourage me and then they're like, wait, what? No, we didn't mean to get you there.
Yeah. So that was kind of a rabbit hole of how I don't know if I really answered the question. It was long-winded.
No, absolutely. Because I do believe that we all go through these challenges. I don't always like the word challenges or struggles because it sounds so heavy, but we go through these processes on our journey to get there so that we can really relate with the people that we're going to help. Because if we haven't ever experienced it, then how can we have that compassion and that love for the person who we're trying to help? And I find, and the people that I'm working with through the podcast, they're all here to help somebody. And we attract those that need our help because we've been through it ourselves. So I love that you share that.
Exactly. And I think vulnerability for the win, it just connects us. And so if I can share with somebody my struggles, that life didn't always look like it looks now. And even now, there is no such thing as perfect. Perfection does
Mhm.
not exist. I still have disagreements with my kids, my partner, things go awry all of the time, but I respond different. I show up different in life, not in that victim mode like I used to.
That is definitely something of showing up different. I was just thinking the other day, because my husband and I work together. So fortunately, we have a large enough house that we're on the opposite ends of the house together. But we've worked together for 2 years, and our son now works with us, and his office is upstairs. Um, but I realize how snippy I can be. And just recently I was like, man, that self-work is working because I didn't even snap once today. Like
Yeah,
it's that showing up different and working through ourselves and growing so that we can be different for those we love.
exactly, exactly. And it's really about being intentional with how you're approaching your personal development, and not with
Mm-hmm.
the attitude of I'm broken, therefore I need to
Mm-hmm.
be fixed. But it's really about coming into that container, understanding that everything is really happening for your highest good. That's where we
Yeah.
have to start. And if you don't believe that, I totally understand that. And we've got a little work to do around that, because truly everything is happening for your highest good. So then, if in fact that is true, all of the darkness, all of the quote unquote, as were saying, you hated to use the word struggles or challenges, it's all happening for you. So really we can remove that word struggles and challenges. Yes, they feel hard. They're not fun to go through. And yet those are the things that stretch us. Those are the things that really help us to build those beautiful muscles of resiliency and persistence and confidence and clarity and conviction and all of the things that I'm about. So when we just remove judgment of good, bad, right, wrong, all of that, and we understand that we're on this earth to grow and evolve and expand, it's really a extraordinary way to live.
It really is. And that really sums up when you sent me the word cozy, you said, cozy to me is about being at home within yourself. It means being connected with self. And when you're connected with self, you can be connected with others in the world. And I read that just so that because you said it so profoundly that everything you've just said leads into exactly cozy. Because when I first saw the word cozy, I'm like, huh, okay, where's she going with this? And then I read that definition, and it is all about showing up for yourself, knowing that you can be first, that you're not broken, that you're exactly who you're supposed to be. You can evolve and grow, but you're not fixing it.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
So
Mm-hmm.
tell me more about cozy for you.
Tell you more about cozy. It's like I can't get enough cozy in my life.
Well, you do live in Wisconsin, so there may be like a blip of that that's warm and
Right?
snuggly.
Well, and this is true. This is true. And really that is, Chris, I will tell you how it all started and how I started to be obsessed with that word is through the external, through sight, sound, sense, and touch. I mean, really through all of the senses. So having a lot of candles, it just creates this atmosphere of warmth
Mm.
and comfort, right? Um, I have a big box. It's an antique fishing box in my living room, filled to the brim with blanket after blanket after blanket after blanket. And even my kids, I mean, they'll hop on the couch and everybody's grabbing a blanket. Now they don't get to use my favorite one because my favorite one is really cozy. They know that's off limits. But it's really, music that takes you back to a certain moment,
Mm.
certain place in time. I mean, really, truly, like when I think it's The Young and the Restless. Yeah, it's The Young and the Restless. Now I haven't heard that song from that soap opera in a really, really long time, because I don't even know that it's on television anymore. But when I used to years ago, if like my hairstylist had it on in her salon or whatever, instantly that took me back to my grandmother's home, because that was what she did every day. That and The Price is Right. That was like her morning gig, right? Instantly it took me back into that time and place. And that's childhood memories. Like that's where your story begins, right? Obviously food is a big one, right? And especially like you said, where I live, comfort food, cozy food, connection around the table, nourishing your soul through conversation while you're enjoying that cozy comfort food. But really, so those are all the external things that I started just paying attention to. I'm like, oh, what is my obsession with? Like, I would go to Home Goods and I'd come out, I didn't need a darn thing. Here I'd come $150 later, candles, all just candles. And I could never figure out what that was all about, but it was really the external way of me kind of setting up this environment for that coziness to take place, what was really going on internally. So internally, I guess what I'm trying to say, cozy, and you had a couple of the definitions, you had it listed in there. It's not a thing. I mean, even though I just talked about blankets and candles and food and Cabernet and all of those beautiful things, and they are wonderful things, right? It's an attitude. It's an attitude. It's a feeling. It's not really a tangible thing. It's about bringing the most essential parts of us wherever we go. It's being at home within yourself. It's being a true expression of yourself and not apologizing for it.
Absolutely. Well, and I love when I was reading the definitions before I got on the call with you, when you had said that it's about being at home within yourself. There are some definitions I left out because they were like a can hugger koozie, well, that didn't relate to us. But what I did love was the soft decorative cover for an object. And the example it used was a knitted thing for over your toaster. And so to me, a soft decorative cover for an object, it was like being cozy with our body because the object is our soul. And I just thought that was really like that connected for me the most when I was reading the definitions and then reading your choice of words, was learning to be comfortable in your own skin and whatever you are, and just feeling that, because your soul is, when we say that there's not perfect, but your soul is perfect because it's perfectly you.
Yeah.
So it's not perfectionism. Like, I may be a little bit of a perfectionist. I always make the joke that I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist, but my husband might.
Oh, sure. That makes sense.
Right? But like your soul it's exactly what it's supposed to be at this moment in time. It doesn't mean it's not going to be different later, because you're going to grow and evolve. But that was the one that I really liked, was when you refer back to the definitions, the soft decorative cover for an object.
Yeah, your soul is your truth. It's your essence. It's who you are. It's in your DNA. It's not trying to be something that you aren't. It's just naturally showing up as you are.
Absolutely. That's what it's so neat to have these kind of conversations. And especially since I've been doing the conversations with people I've met through email, to see how connected we all really are when we open ourselves. And that was part of what you said, when you're connected with self, you can be connected with others in the world. And I'm in North Carolina, you're in Wisconsin, and I saw a post in a Facebook group and reached out to you after checking you out, because we're open. And when we feel that being comfortable with ourselves, there's so many amazing people out there that you get to connect with.
Yeah. And when I was living in that state of contrast years ago, before I entered, the personal growth world and became a coach, I struggled with connection because I wasn't connected with myself. So every connection felt broken. I was in constant judgment of others because I was in constant judgment of myself. right? If you spot it, you got it. You know, if you're seeing that in somebody else, you got to flip that mirror back and go, okay, what's going on within me that I spotted that in somebody else? But I didn't know that at the time, right? But I wasn't really connected with anybody because I wasn't really connected with myself. I wasn't really connected with my purpose because I wasn't really connected with myself. So it all, I talk about, one of my quote unquote labels, titles, whatever. I call myself a leadership expert, but really what that is self-leadership, because it all starts with self. You cannot lead others until you know how to lead yourself, period.
That's so true, because we have to be, it's kind of like how we found ourselves on this journey. We have to go through it to be able to help somebody else through it.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody's listening today and they are in that contrast, but they're so ready to get out of the contrast because you are a coach, you've done a lot of self-help for yourself, self-love, what would you say? What would you offer them?
Oh, that's a good question. So somebody that's sitting kind of in the darkness, in the contrast, there's so many things. It's kind of like,
I know I did kind of put you on the spot there. Sorry. So like, they know they're in the darkness and they know they don't have to stay in the darkness. So they're like so close to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would really tell them to, first and foremost, sit and be still. Sit. And I know it's so contrary to what a lot of the world will tell you, but we have been taught wrong. And the reason why I say sit and get still with yourself is we have been taught that the answers come from outside of ourselves. We're conditioned to believe that from the time we enter the world. When we're born, Chris, we are connected to source, whether that is spirit for you, universe, God, whatever you choose to believe, we're connected. And then we slowly disconnect and we give our power away to everybody else. That's what we're taught. We're taught that we are our trophies on the wall. We are the last book that we wrote. We are the house that we live in, all of those external things. And we're not. It's just not true. So really, it's about getting still, maybe doing some journaling and writing a little bit about who are you? Who are you? Not what have you done? Who are you? Are you vibrant? Are you a truth teller? Are you somebody who's full of passion and joy? Are you somebody who is just radically honest? Are you somebody who is just wildly soulful, creative? Who are you? And then really start to play with that a little bit and pay attention to how that shows up in your life. It's a very esoteric answer, but it's a great place to start. It's a great place to start.
I really do believe that was a great answer, just to relate it back to my personal experience, because I, like you, have been through some darkness. I've been through some muck, and I've just been through some like stormy clouds. There's definitely levels of what you've been through. And I am currently, as I've mentioned in other podcasts and on my blog, I'm in a 10-month intensive yoga teacher training.
Oh,
and I went into it knowing that my purpose of doing it was I want to strengthen my at-home practice. But being a very spiritual person, I knew that it was going to take me into a deep dive on myself. And I had a review with one of my teachers a couple weeks ago. It was our midpoint review because we're halfway through the program. And as she was giving me all the feedback, she said to me, I'm really glad you're here. I'm learning a lot from you. And I was like, you're learning from me? And she said, yeah, I'm learning how to sit in my discomfort by watching you. And I have been so uncomfortable that it's been interesting because I'm aware how uncomfortable I am, but that I'm on the right path. So it's worth being uncomfortable for. And I said to her, I'm like, is it that obvious? She's like, it is all over your face in class. So part of that is, I love that you bring it back to sit, be still, because if you're aware that you are in the contrast, that you're coming out of the contrast, be still to make sure you learned what you were supposed to, because we will be shown by our higher power where we're going. And for me personally, I've never been through the darkness, through the stormy clouds, and it not been for a reason and gotten me somewhere else.
100%. 100%. And it really goes back to, we need to do a little bit better job at asking the right questions. It's not, why is this happening to me? It's, how is this happening for me? What am I learning?
Yes.
I love that story that you shared, because we all are our own students and teachers. If you slow down and really look around. It's why slowing down oftentimes is the first place I start with, a lot of clients, because they are at breakneck speed. So they're just missing. They're missing life. They're missing being in the present moment. They're missing, oh my gosh, they're missing a lot, because they're either parked in the past or they're so far in the future that they're just missing the mark and missing the present moments. And everyone is our student and teacher. And if you slow down, you really can see opportunities and possibilities and learn from anyone and everyone. Good, bad, indifferent, however you want to label it. It's all learning.
Well, and I think sometimes when we're in that stuck in the past, looking at the future, we're at that high speed because we're trying to stay distracted. Because sometimes we're afraid of getting to know ourselves, or afraid to really experience things, because there's some healing that has to happen for us to be fully present. And that's always interesting, I think, when I look at my past situations, or a friend is talking to me about their situation, to see that it's like, you're so right there. Like, you're so close to that. Just breathe and be present. And that's one of the things I love about yoga is there's an hour every day that I'm on the mat. And can I tell you how many times I have cried on the mat because something's released, something moves out of me.
Yeah. It's all that energy coming out of you. Absolutely. I could not agree more. Gosh, you said something that really was like, yes, yes, yes. And now I can't think of what it was, but I was lighting up inside. Oh, I've completely spaced it. I can't think of it. Obviously, it wasn't that important. It'll come to me.
Do you practice yoga?
I do, not as faithfully as I'd like to. I'm working on figuring that out, because living in a small town, my options are quite limited.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying, actually, my husband is ordering the Peloton today. So apparently with the Peloton, you can do yoga classes. So I'm super excited about that, because yoga is, when it's just you and that mat. And I know what I was going to say. You were talking about having to slow down and really feel. And I would say many, if not most people, that's the issue right there. If we slow down, it means we have to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know how to do that. Oh my gosh, something might come up. So that's why when you asked where to start, my reply was to get still. There's literally no other place you can start. Because when you get still, you start to notice. You notice feelings that are coming up. You notice patterns. You notice attitudes, emotions, behaviors. Whatever you're meant to learn through slowing down, it'll come up. But when you're running at breakneck speed, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I know that busyness is a coping mechanism, distraction. It's a numbing mechanism for a lot of people, because when we're busy, we don't quote unquote have time to feel then, right?
I have on my I have a big bulletin board right in front of my desk, and one of the things right here, actually, it says, busyness is not a badge of honor.
Yes.
Because we think being perfect and being busy equals successful, and it's not, because you miss so much that actually counts.
Yes. Well, what you're doing, Chris, is you're really making your happiness conditional. I'll be happy when I lose 5 pounds. I'll feel lovable when I catch the guy. I'll feel successful when I get the PhD.
Mhm.
And so you are truly just putting off your happiness till another day. And then when you actually reach that thing, then there's always something else. And oftentimes, even when you reach that thing, it doesn't bring the feeling that you were looking for to begin with, because you don't even know how to sit with that feeling, right? You're so conditioned and you're so patternized, if that's a word. Anybody that hangs with me knows I make up my own language. So patternized is now a word.
I love that. I'll use it.
Right? You're so conditioned to certain emotional vibrations from your childhood, feelings of isolation, frustration, irritation, doubt, insecurity, worry, all of the disempowering states, that you don't even know how to sit and enjoy that feeling when you finally get the thing. So
Mhm.
you've got to decide as a grown human that this is how I want to feel every day, and make that choice that this is how I'm going to feel, no matter what comes in and out of my life. And no matter what I achieve, I choose to feel peace every day. I choose to feel compassion every day. I choose to wake up excited every day. Those are actually my 3 words. I just gave them to you. So those are my 3 North Star feelings: peace, compassion, and excited. And those are what I choose every day.
Sorry, I had to write those down.
No, and I didn't know. And that was a riveting moment for me years ago. I had no idea that I could actually choose how I wanted to feel, because I was literally in such victim mode and apathy that I just thought you woke up and felt overwhelmed every day. Like that was
Mhm.
normal for me. Frustrated, irritated, resentful. Well, yeah, doesn't everybody feel that way? A lot of the population does, yes, but it's not normal like we think it is.
It doesn't have to be that way. And I love that you brought that, because it goes back to your happiness isn't external, it's
Yeah.
internal. And that goes back to the being at home with yourself and connecting with
Yes.
your soul. And, it brings it 360 back to us, because our happiness isn't external. It's not if our house is big or we have the new car or we have the new promotion.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I believe so strongly is we may think we really want that job, but when we find out later it wasn't actually going to be what we needed, because our higher power is what is in charge when you really give it to them, so that you can
Mhm.
really flow with your soul and flow with your purpose, is what I mean. Not that like there's somebody a puppeteer, but not putting so much on the external, because when we're so much more in flow with ourselves, life brings us that internal happiness.
Yes. 100%.
It's really neat just to have this conversation with you and really talk about cozy, because I've never thought of the word cozy, but all the principles that you're sharing with us are stuff that I'm like, yes, that's totally. So now I'm going to look at cozy completely different the next time I pull
Right?
my blanket out and wrap
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think maybe, you're kind of bringing that home for me. Maybe some of those tangible things, the candles, the food, the blankets, all of that, maybe they're just visual stopping points to slow down and ask the question,
Mhm.
have I connected with myself today? Have I connected with others today? Have I really been an expression of my purpose today? What's my soul asking for today? I don't know. It's a
I
curious
love that.
question.
And it brings me, my next question, which you led into perfectly, was what I saw on your website about self-care. So
Yeah.
let's talk about self-care for a minute, because, self-care, when you say it, the people who kind of recoil are like, well, I can't afford pedicures and massages, or I don't have the time. And again, the time goes back to the running at breakneck speed, as you saw.
Yeah.
So I know for me, my self-care is I get up and I spend an hour to an hour and a half each morning, most mornings. Sometimes I choose to sleep late, but doing yoga and doing meditation, because that's how I connect with myself.
Yep.
So, what are your methods of self care to really connect with yourself?
Yeah, I love that. I love the self-care conversation, because if one more person talks about self-care in terms of manis and petties, I'm gonna stab my eyeballs out of my head.
I mean, now I love going every once in a while
Oh,
when my girlfriend comes to
hey,
town and get a pedicure, but that's not,
right?
yeah,
But it's
that's not
not,
self-care.
it's
That's
really not. It's an activity.
pampering.
It's a pampering activity that is fun and light and wonderful, and there's no judgment around it. And I'm not telling anyone to stop. And God knows I love my manis and petties. I think they're great. Matter of fact, my massage person canceled on me last Friday, and I was devastated. I'm like, what? We should go forward to it, because it's a treat, right?
Yes.
But true caring for yourself and caring for your soul, again, it's internal. It's internal. So my routine looks like, same with you. Get up in the morning before anybody else. When I don't get that solitude in the morning, watch out. You're like, you better be far away from me. Because I just crave it. I just love it. I love it. I love the solitude. So it starts with morning meditation, and it is silent meditation, time to really allow my soul to speak. It gives source a chance to speak when I am still and I am quiet. It's always with a candle. So, I've got that little candle going to the side of me, because just a candle, again, it's warmth, it's cozy, it's light. I don't know, it's almost like when I'm meditating and I know that candle is beside me, it's sort of like putting all of your monkey mind thoughts, or all of the stuff that you're concerned about or worried about, into that flame. That's it's a visual for me. I don't know. So I've always got a candle going. So that's where I start every morning. And then whatever comes up for me in my meditation, I write a couple sentences about that. Whatever, there might be a word, there might be a phrase, and that sort of sets my intention for the day. And I'll ask in my morning meditation, I'll say, Source, just speak to me, guide me, let me know if there's something that needs to come up in this time. And then after that, I move into my belief work. So I write whatever beliefs I'm working at that current time. So right now I am currently working, I believe it's around 7 beliefs that I'm really trying to embed and encode in my system as I step into my next level, because I'm going through a huge up level right now. And I need to create some new belief systems around this up level. So I will do my belief work. And then from there, I really just get my calendar out, and I sort of see what the day has in store. I spend a couple of minutes maybe visualizing what that day is going to look like, how I'm going to bring my guiding light feelings into those coaching conversations, into the interactions with my kids, my partner, the people I meet at the grocery store, whatever it is that's on my list, my clients. So I spend a couple of minutes visualizing that. And then after that, I don't usually take clients until 10 or 11 o'clock. So I know for some of the listeners are probably thinking, well, heck, how much time does she have? But then once about 10 or 11 hits, I'm all day solid. I do like to move my body if there's time. I either do that, somewhere throughout the day if I've got a break with clients, or in the morning, or sometimes I like to do a soul stroll, which is where I'll just take my soul out for a stroll.
I love that. I need to start using that word too.
Isn't that fun?
Mm-hmm.
So then I like to write. I love to write. So I might write a social media post. I might write an email. I might write a blog post. I might write in my journal. I just like to write something. Usually it's for my people, because I've already done a little bit of that journal work in the morning. So usually it's for my tribe, my people, something to share, something to teach them, something where, in that meditation, something came up. It's like, this is what your people need to know. This is what you're called to share. And then I write. Then off we go. Then we start, seeing clients and all that juicy jazz.
I love that, because I'm like you. When I first started my business, I'm on the East Coast. A lot of my clients were West Coast and Hawaii. So my hours were completely different. So I would start around 10, and we are very blessed that we have that ability in the morning. But I think it's so important. It's like that saying, if you should meditate for 10 minutes a day, unless you're busy, and then you should meditate for an hour. It's
Uh-huh.
whatever your schedule is, finding that space for yourself, even if, I have the luxury, but also because I'm going through the teacher training, there's a level of yoga that I need to practice every day. But I also do have the ability to have that time because I don't have a morning commute. I'm working from home. I walk across the hall in my yoga clothes.
Yeah.
So we have that. We're fortunate in that way. But it is a matter of, you can take 10 or 15 minutes just to set your intention and center with yourself, so that you're not starting by hitting the snooze alarm too many times, grabbing your coffee as you run out the door, because that, I did that when I worked corporate America. I had a 10-year-old that I was trying to get out the door and get to school. And, and when we're in the midst of that, we don't remember, yes, that last snooze alarm sounds great, but that 15 minutes of centering ourselves will be way more beneficial than that 7 minutes of snooze.
It's so true, Chris. I really I would rather be a little tired during the day and get up and meditate than to just boom, here we go. I really actually don't know how people do it, because that really truly is setting the whole tone for your day. It really is.
Absolutely. Because if we hit the ground running, where are we going to slow down? At least if we are slow when we hit the ground, then we're able to maintain that and revisit it sometimes throughout the day, because we remember, once you've done it regularly enough, you remember it's in your soul. So you crave it. And you really spend that time there.
Yes. And I understand it's not always easy for a lot of people. So what I suggest is 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And, there's all the different research about creating a habit and all of that, but really it takes 40 days. It takes about 40 days to create a habit. I just cannot imagine not starting my day without the meditation. And one of the other things I do too, and this sounds so silly, but maybe this will land for some of your listeners and give them something a little more visual. I had always heard of my grandmother and my mother-in-law and other people drinking warm lemon water in the morning. And, I would start my day with hot coffee. Get me to the coffee pot as fast as possible. And that's fine too. But I got curious about this hot water thing, warm water. And so I thought, I'm going to dabble with it. I'm going to try it. And I started to slow down and I started to notice, wow, it's almost like my body comes alive when I drink that warm mug of water. It's probably about 10 ounces. I've got a little Turkish tea kettle that my friend from New York City sent me. So it warms it up pretty fast. So it's about 10 ounces. And I just truly noticed, this makes me feel incredible. I can't not do this. I have to keep doing this because I feel so amazing, versus, you've been dehydrating all night and then all of a sudden now you're pumping 2, 3, 4 cups of coffee, more dehydration in your body. By noon, I was feeling miserable and having headaches. The point is, once you really start to lean into how it makes you feel, and that's why I say again, slow down, notice how some of these things feel in your body, notice what comes up. It's like, that feels pretty damn fabulous to have that warm lemon water in my body. I like this. I like how I feel. So it's all about slowing down, paying attention, noticing how it feels in your body.
And so do you drink coffee after you have your warm lemon water?
Oh, yes.
Did you give it? Okay. Well, that's why, because I'm not a coffee drinker, but I know that some of our listeners are like, no, I'm not giving up my coffee.
Yeah.
But
no,
I'm
not giving up my coffee.
You still have that too. It's just another tool in your toolbox to connect with yourself.
It really is. It truly, truly is. Again, I never thought I could do it because I think coffee is oh my gosh, it's everything. Again, what I have learned with coffee is there's some sort of a coziness connection there for me. I think it's the warmth in the mug. So I'm really weird about my mugs, and weird in every good way. I have probably 4 mugs that I'll drink out of. I mean, I've got a whole cupboard full, but it's these 4 that I will drink out of, and that is it. And do not bring me a mug that is like from the back row of the, cupboard. It's like the worst day ever when we're traveling and I have to use a travel mug because I still haven't found one that I loved. It's weird. It's about the way the mug feels in my hands. It's the coziness. It's the warmth. It's the conversation that happens with myself, with my soul. It's the conversation that happens with Source over a cup of coffee. It's the conversation that happens with others. There's a true connection. Cabernet is the same thing for me. It's just this classy, connected thing that I enjoy. It's just truly cozy to me. So anyway, long story short, I'm not giving up my coffee ever. I've tried it. It's not going to happen. Even the thought of it makes me ornery.
And you're not giving up your mugs either.
Right? It makes me happy. Coffee just makes me happy. So I do enjoy 3 cups max. After that, I really do start getting headaches. Just I think from the dehydration.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, there's something about that, the water in the morning that just, it's like it makes my body come alive.
I love that. I have just recently, well, in the last 6-8 months, started juicing in the morning. And that's my, it really, and what I have found that sometimes I juice a little bit more because, the celery stalk's bigger or the beet's bigger, and I'll have it still in the fridge because there's only so much you should drink in the morning if you want to be, productive and not running to the restroom all day. And so I will drink some of that in the afternoon if I had some left over. And I get that same feeling again of like, I'm ready to start my day.
Yeah.
And so it's that coziness of coming back to what you found the connection with and what you associate it with. Because after we've gotten in that habit and that pattern, there are things that will trigger. It's like the same basis of aromatherapy. The scents trigger your lymphatics. So there's certain things that cozy triggers that space for you.
Absolutely. And I do have in my space my essential oils as well.
Yeah, my diffuser's over there running.
Yep. Always.
One of the things that you mentioned that I want to come back to is meditation in the morning, where you said it's a simple 5 minutes. And I know there's going to be listeners who have never meditated. They don't know how to meditate. They want to learn to meditate because they hear it's the buzzword. And what I want to share with one of my experiences is when I was, my husband left for work really early. We had a 9-10-year-old that I had to get up who was grumpy, as all 9-10-year-old little boys normally are about going to school. I had to drive him to school. I had to get to work, and it was always a tight morning. So trying at that point in my life to meditate, like I would want to, but it just wouldn't work. And I had a couple of the daily readers. Like I love Melody Beatty. And she's got one, I'll have to look it up and post the link to it, but it's something with heart. And so what I would do is I would keep it on the back of my toilet. I don't know what word to use, commode, to sound PC, not give you a horrible vision of me like using the restroom in the morning. But because I would have it in the back, laying there because it was a safe place. It wasn't on the sink. It wasn't going to get wet. It wasn't going to get damaged. And I saw it when I walked into the bathroom because I'm looking. So as I'm waiting for the hot water in my shower to heat up, I would read the Daily Reader. It takes you 2 minutes. By the time the water's warm, then I'm in the shower feeling the water, kind of washing away the sleepies, and I could focus on that intention. So
love that.
For the people who are like, there's no way I've got time. I've got 4 kids. They've all got to go somewhere, blah, blah, blah. It's as simple as having a good reader and start there. Start somewhere, because if you don't start now, in 3 years, you're going to be in the same place you are now.
Yes. Change is not comfortable. It's not supposed to be. It's not. Nobody ever said growth was easy. And I am all about, one of my methodologies is radical personal responsibility. So if you want it, you have the power to make it happen. Like you actually are that powerful, right? You can't sit and give energy to blaming other people or to, it's really all about blaming other people. One of the first assignments oftentimes that I will have a client do, not every client, but a client that comes to me with a lot of excuses. one of the first assignments is write down on a piece of paper. Just grab a piece of computer paper, 8 by 10, whatever, napkin, doesn't matter. Everything on the left-hand side that you don't want, or that you do want. Everything that you do want on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, write down why you don't have it. And then usually I ask, okay, what's the pattern? And that's when the client goes, holy buckets, I think the pattern might be me. And that's when we kind of step into this conversation of, yes, you are the problem, which also means you actually are the solution. And how empowering is that? So if you want to start meditation, you literally just have to start. You have to stop with the excuses. You have to stop with the narratives and the stories and just say, I'm going to try this thing out because I heard it was kind of cool and that it might help me. I'm going to do a little research maybe, and I'm going to start with 5 minutes. And I am going to do that for 1 week. And then I'm going to notice how I feel. Truly, it's actually that easy. You've got to get out of your own way.
I have to tell you, the whole time you were talking, I kept hearing that song, If You Want It, Baby, Come and Get It. You know, like I totally am like, yes, that's exactly what you have to do. If you want it, quit making excuses because you are your own resistance.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing that if you really want, you can go for it. It may take you longer, or it may be some really hard work, or there may be some stuff you have to work through, but you can get there if you want to.
It's all dependent on how connected you are with your why. You've got to be connected with your why. Back when my kids were really little and I wanted to release some weight, I just didn't feel good carrying around extra weight. And as you know, I live in northwestern Wisconsin. Again, not back in the day. We have a few more options now, but back 15 years ago, we didn't have a lot of workout options here. We're not at a community that has big clubs and big gyms and things of that nature. And the one thing that I knew how to do was gather up some girlfriends and start walking. And pretty soon that started down the path of, well, do you think there's any possibility that we could run? Like, I mean, and I could not run to the mailbox. And I know, people hear that a lot. I really couldn't. Like, I was not an athlete. I could not run to the mailbox. But I tell you what, I was up and out of bed at 4:30 every morning, a.m., before my husband had to go to work. And I was meeting those girlfriends at 5:15, and we would run a block. And then the next week, another block. And then the next week, another block. And pretty soon we were running half marathons. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's how you approach anything. You don't sign up for Japanese class to learn Japanese and expect that you're going to be fluent in 6 months. It's not going to happen. It's going to take time, patience, grace. And we can see that when I kind of lay it out like that. But yet when it comes to things like meditation, personal development, self-love, all of that, we want to enter into this container, and then we want to be hard on ourselves and judgmental towards ourselves for not getting it right. Just have fun with it. Be playful. Be compassionate with yourself and just feel it out. Try it out. Just say, I'm going to commit to this for 1 week, and I'm going to take radical personal responsibility. I'm going to do it every morning at 6:30 a.m., and I'm going to see how I feel.
I love that you say that, because the other thing that I was thinking is that we say that change can be hard and change can be uncomfortable. But if you're feeling the need to change, you're already in an uncomfortable place. You're already feeling the hardness of it. So do you want to just stay there forever, or do you want to move through it to where you can find that own internal happiness and that connection?
Yeah, well said. And sometimes I've been having this conversation a lot with people lately. Sometimes you don't want to live in the future, right? Like that produces just a ton of worry. We do not want to live there. We want to live in the present moment. But there is also this flip side of the coin where I don't think we think about, not live there, think about the future enough. And when when I do things with a client, such as a visualization 10 years out, 30 years out, I take clients, to meet their 85-year-old self. that's when we realize, holy buckets, I don't have time to waste. Like, there is something powerful that happens when I take a client out to meet her future self or his future self. And so sometimes I think we need to think about death a little bit more, not to be morbid or anything of that nature, but just from the aspect of, who do I need to be? What changes do I need to make in order to hit my head on the pillow when I'm ready to go and know that I lived this life the way I was meant to live it. I made an impact. I gave it all I had. I left my legacy. I did what I was supposed to do. And I was happy.
That's so powerful. I love that. I feel like we've been in sync the whole time talking, because I have 3 questions that I end the calls with, and it kind of depends on which question. I pick one of the 3.
Okay.
So my questions are, and I'm going to read you all 3 of them so you know how in sync we are when I get to that one. The first one is, if you didn't coach women, what would you do? Or your secret to success. Or the third one, which is the one that was very in sync, is, what do you want your legacy to be? Like, so what, Krista, do you want your legacy to be? It's a hard, it makes you think for a second.
Well, I know. So I want my legacy to be that through my truth telling, through my compassion, through my curiosity, and through my vibrancy, I gave it all. I gave it all, and I really helped people to develop a high quality relationship with themselves. That's what it's all about, is developing a high quality relationship with themselves so that they can step into their power, own their truth, and really be an expression of their purpose.
Oh, that is beautiful. And I think that is a wonderful way to be remembered, to leave your legacy, that you gave it all. Like, that just, it makes my heart feel cozy.
Yeah, right?
It does. It's very warm. And like, just talking to you, I'm like, this is the kind of person I want to be friends with. These are the kind of people and the purpose of the people that I want to surround myself with in my life. So I'm so glad that we got to talk today. And I know that I'm like, okay, you said something about you write for your tribe, for your social media. And I'm like, I think I need to join that. Like, I didn't join that. So tell us, how can people find you after they hear this and want to be a part of your tribe and want to feel part of your legacy?
Yeah. So one of the best places to find me, where I'm pretty active, is Facebook. I love Facebook. It's my jam. I've been on it forever. So they can find me there. And I do have a private community called the Selfish Badass. And it's a little bit of a polarizing topic or a polarizing message. But what it really is I help women know who they are, what they want, and how they're going to get it. Because so many people are living in this people-pleasing, proving, perfectionism, autopilot mode, whatever you want to call it. It's all of them, really. Pick your flavor. And so what happens is their dreams and their purpose get put on the back burner. That's not what your life was given to you for. That is not why you're here. You are here to be an expression of your purpose. And so that's really what I help people do through my movement. Is I use the word selfish to kind of flip that word on its head, to get women thinking about, it's selfish to people please. It is selfish to actually spend your life pleasing other people, being a chameleon, constantly altering yourself in order to please and to get validation. That's actually what's selfish. Putting yourself first so that you can serve and leave an impact is anything but selfish. So they can find me in the Selfish Badass community on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. I would say Facebook's probably the best place that they can kind of hang with me and be in my energy a little bit.
And you have a podcast too that they can check out and listen to.
I do. Yes. It's called the Selfish Badass Podcast. Go figure. And it's really a mix of interviewing powerful women that have really stepped into their purpose, teaching. So there's some that are 100% me, And now I have just released that I'm going to be doing a little bit of live coaching on that pod as well. So there's a few different kind of angles to enjoy the pod.
That is awesome. I had already subscribed to your podcast, but I will definitely find you on Facebook and would love to follow more and kind of listen, because you've had so many good soul nuggets for us today. So thank you so much for being
you're
here
so
for us.
welcome. You're so welcome.
It's been wonderful. Well,
It's been a treat.
Thank you for sharing your message and your word with our community today. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening today. I would love for you to join in on the conversation by following me on Facebook or Instagram at Grounding Journey. That's where I get to connect with you and other women like us.